The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Rachel, what the happened? Where's the ambulance?
I told her, you know, that's it. We have to get out of here now, and I need you to. We're gonna pack everything up, and we're just gonna leave.
I said, I don't give a f. I'm ready to die. You could kill me. And he began to run towards the house.
And what did you do when you see him running towards the house to lock you out?
I took the shot.
After you shot him, you actually mocked him and said, it's not like I hit a major artery. You'll be fine, right?
It's not quoted right.
Was the toxic relationship self-defense or murder? We're counting down to the closing arguments in the trial of defendant Daisy Link. Plus, where will Mama Donna wind up? We're talking about the convicted killer's life behind bars as she's awaiting her final prison destination. And Luigi Mangione living large in jail. The alleged assassin reportedly has a 5-figure commissary, all thanks to his supporters. We'll discuss the fascination behind him and other appealing defendants. Also this hour, parents Jake and Rebecca Haro expected in court. This is their 7-month-old baby, Emmanuel. His remains still nowhere to be found. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Thursday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. We got a great show planned for you, so let's get started. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Daisy Link is no delicate flower. This woman shot the father of her children because he was going to lock her out of the house. What a trash excuse for this tragic homicide. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, where those of us in the prevention movement work to educate the public about how lethal toxic, abusive relationships can be. And this case is a perfect example. Pedro Jimenez shouldn't have been killed that night. He was walking away. And then, after he's hit, she waits to call 911. She then lies to police about discovering him shot. She hides the gun, she hides the casings. She sure sounds like a dangerous manipulator to me. Deception and manipulation are part and parcel of domestic violence. Always remember that. Daisy Link says that she and Pedro Jimenez were both violent towards each other in the past. Well, that may be true. And if it is, then they're both wrong. But it proves my point about how toxicity and a buildup of toxicity can eventually lead to an event of lethality. I certainly don't see self-defense here. I see a raging manipulator who's trying to excuse her violent behavior. You don't fire a gun at another human being and then claim that you intended only to scare them. My friends, I think Daisy Link is heading for the clink. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, time for your daily docket.
You thought that your dad tried to shoot your mom twice, but it was only once, right? He missed. And you saw that happen, right? Do you remember what it sounded like when he fired the shot?
Yeah.
All right, in Wisconsin, we have got co-defendant Antonio Johnston from the Caught in a Crossfire murder trial. Closing arguments are set to begin this morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Defendant Paris Leary is accused of killing Tatiana Zek outside of her home while she was taking out the trash. In Massachusetts, we've got opening statements scheduled around noon in a brand new trial we're bringing you. This is for Irish firefighter Terrence Crosby. He's standing trial for a second time on charges that he raped a woman in a Boston hotel. And we've got the case I was just talking about, the closing arguments happening at 10:30 a.m. Eastern in the murder trial for defendant Daisy Link. And that is our top story. So was the toxic relationship self-defense, or was this cold-blooded murder? Defendant Daisy Link testified to the tumultuous 9-year-long relationship with Pedro Jimenez. Link saying that she shot him when he attacked her after telling him that she was cheating and seeing another guy. Well, she also claims that Jimenez was under the influence of cocaine at the time.
He told me that he was gonna lock me out of the house and that I was gonna sleep outside. When I began to walk towards him and I said, no, you're not, you're gonna leave. He said, I don't give a f, I'm ready to die, you could kill me. And he began to run towards the house.
And what did you do when you see him running towards the house to lock you out?
I took the shot.
Were you aiming to hit him?
I initially aimed towards the floor as I lifted up the gun. I didn't expect for it to hit him. I just thought the sound was gonna scare him off.
The defense says that Jimenez was, quote, out of control, unhinged, and dangerous, and that Link was the one who was trying to escape the relationship. Prosecutors argue that Link was the aggressor in this event that led up to the fatal shooting. So let's talk about what the jury may be thinking this morning. Hit us up at home on social media right now. Let us know what you think. I want to welcome in our legal eagles, attorneys Michael J. Brown and John Phillips, both high-profile attorneys. You two are. And now this case is getting a lot of traction. This lady made national headlines for another reason. Maybe we'll talk about that later in the conversation. But first, let's talk about whether this is self-defense or second-degree murder. Michael J. Brown, would you start us off, please?
Good morning, Julie. Good morning, John. Daisy Link is heading to the clink. That was your closing, your opening statement, Julie, and I do concur.
You dig it, huh?
I do. It's a tough one, and I'll tell you, she shot from behind. He was running away. So it is a very, very difficult case to defend. But here's the thing. They did their best to develop the narrative and show the prior history of abuse. And, you know, there's this battered woman's syndrome. They didn't put an expert on, but it's definitely something that's real in life where they keep coming back. But at the end of the day, you know, you kind of isolate the incident itself, and that's where she pulled the trigger when he was running away to the backside. It's a difficult self-defense claim, but they're trying to perpetuate this overall narrative, which says, hey, you know, you have to take it. You can't look at it in a vacuum. You have to look at all of the circumstances and all of the instances of abuse.
Yes. Michael, thank you for that. I have a clip here where this is from the cross, and Daisy Link admits it. She waited to call 911. Let's look at that.
When Pedro was killed, he didn't have a knife, right?
No,
He didn't have a gun.
no,
You're the only one that was armed, right?
yes,
You actually had the deadly force in your hands before you killed him, right?
yes,
You waited to call 911, right?
yes,
You knew you shot him?
not at first.
As you walked on camera that we saw on State 16, we heard you actually say, you'll be fine. It's not like I hit a major artery. You'll be fine, right?
That's not what I said.
John Phillips, what do you say, please?
You just saw Daisy wilt right there on camera.
Great line.
It's awful. And domestic abuse, like you said in your opening, is terrible. You know, you should never let it get to this point. But you don't get to shoot first, shoot somebody behind the back, not call 911, you know, do all of the things that she did do and then affirmatively, you know, withheld from doing. She admitted she pulled the trigger. This is a murder case. You know, they want to set it up as almost a jury nullification case where the jury will feel sorry for her. I didn't feel sorry for her at all when she was admitting to all of that conduct.
I'm with you, John. Not one bit. Let's look at another clip here because she brought in a witness that came in and testified. This is Pedro Jr. And so she shares 2 children with Pedro Jimenez. And He came in and testified to this incident previously, a pistol whipping incident. And it's been in controversy throughout the trial because depending on who you ask, you know, he pistol whipped her, she pistol whipped him. Prosecution contends that it was her who did it first. Defense says it was him. And so let's listen to what this child told the jury.
You thought that your dad tried to shoot your mom twice, but it was only once, right? He missed. And you saw that happen, right? Do you remember what it sounded like when he fired the shot?
Okay, so Michael J. Brown, what do you see when you watch that video there?
Well, of course, with a child, Julie, you can be leading, and that's what the defense attorney did. He did lead the child, and they're trying to establish this past pattern of abuse. One of the things that are really important in a case like this, Julie, is a lot of it rests on the testimony of the defendant. And she took the stand. We saw her testify. She really did not come across as a sympathetic figure. She didn't really project herself to the jury in that fashion. And I think it really is on her to sell herself to the jury in terms of the past abuse, the situation, how she felt. She was very monotonic. She was very matter of fact. And I think that's going to be to her detriment when they deliberate in the back.
Yes, great point, Michael. Let's dovetail off of that. John, when we think about the facts here, had they been different, we may not be having this conversation today because she may not be on trial, right? I mean, how much do the facts and the very specific sequence of events matter here?
Another famous Florida case, Marissa Alexander. You know, she did the warning shot, she missed. And you know, went through the whole different, you know, path that justice requires. You know, but the prosecution has laid out the case, including an incident with a skateboard 5 days before this, the history of domestic abuse. You brought in the children to show that this was, you know, the ultimate murder after all of this escalation. And you know, certainly if he had been charging her, you know, the way Stand Your Ground works is you can't be the initial aggressor. They would have to back up time, you know, before this fight really started to make him the aggressor at basically all material times, as a lawyer would say, to take that off of her so that she could use self-defense or stand your ground.
Yeah, great points, John. Thank you. You know, this woman, I look at her and I see a manipulator for the books. The jury isn't hearing about her wanting bond, and in her attempt to get bond, according to prosecutors, she asks another inmate for some help, some sperm, to be specific, that they send on through the air conditioning vents in the jail, and she inseminates herself and then tries to use the excuse that she is pregnant to get out of jail. Michael J. Brown, you and John have done so much in your careers. Have you ever heard of this kind of thing as an attempt to get bond?
Not exactly, but listen, they are very creative as inmates. We think we've heard it all, and then John and I will wake up the next morning and hear a brand new story, and we're like, oh my goodness. It's the gift that keeps on giving. We get new stories every single day that we just cannot make up. But I think that was the correct ruling, Julie. I don't think that's something that should have come out of trial. It has no bearing on the case itself. Certainly, it may go to credibility of the witness, but I think the prejudicial value would clearly outweigh any probative effect on cross-examination. So I think it was the correct ruling.
Yes, I agree. Do you agree as well, John?
I do. I've represented Joe Exotic. I've represented Naked Cowboy, Omarosa, Steve-O. I've had cases with Steve-O. I've never seen anything like this.
And those are some characters. You got to cast some characters there. Yeah.
I'm not adding Daisy to my list.
No. I think Daisy Link is headed for the clink, as I said in my open. We'll see what happens today when we get those closes right around 10:30 a.m. Eastern. John Phillips, Michael J. Brown, so glad you two are here. Stand by, please. We'll hit a break. When we come back, here's what's coming up for you on Opening Statements.
I've gained more than a third of my body weight here. The diet is all carbs, no protein. I don't have any antibiotic cream, and I don't have a Band-Aid. Borrowing sanitary pads. She said, "You're going to buy me commissary. You don't snitch, you don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did."
So what kind of inmate will Mama Donna be in prison? We all remember she didn't like the jail. We're talking about how she's being processed to go to her permanent home. Plus, the fascination behind accused assassin Luigi Mangione. The money and the support that is being sent to him, it's unreal. Wait till you hear just how much.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Welcome back. Now for what's trending in true crime. Mama Donna Adelson is waking up at her new temporary home, the Florida Women's Reception Center in Ocala, Florida. Now, it's unknown just how long she will stay there, but it's typically where female prisoners go after their sentencing before they are assigned to a permanent prison home. It's interesting to note that Catherine McBanawa is also at this facility, but she's in a different section, so it's unlikely that she and Mama Donna are going to cross paths there. Donna's defense team, we know, requested that she not serve time in the same prison as Catherine McBanawa, her son's ex-girlfriend. Right now, Donna can't have any visitors while she's being processed. A few months back, though, we saw her testify at a hearing about all the problems she was experiencing at the Leon County Jail. Let's watch.
I was assaulted by another inmate while I was here at the beginning of October.
October 2024?
Yes,
And when you say here, do you mean the Leon County Jail?
yes.
Okay. All right. Since you began experiencing that pain, since October of 2024, have you requested medical treatment?
Yes.
And what has the response been?
They said they would take an x-ray, but in the meantime, I could have Tylenol.
So our question now is, where do we think Mama Donna will end up? Let's discuss that. Let's bring in Florida attorney John Phillips and criminology expert, author, and professor at St. Thomas University in Florida, Dr. Debbie Goodman. Good morning to you both. All right, so there are 4 major facilities that house female prisoners in Florida. As you both know, the defense is asking that Donna Adelson will be near Miami because she wants to be by husband Harvey. That would be the Homestead Correctional Institution in Florida City. So, Dr. Debbie, do you think they're going to honor that request?
Good morning, Julie and John. I don't think they're going to honor their request or what Donna's defense team is asking, because who among us would have sympathy for her? You know, this prima donna mentality that she's been exhibiting, Julie, throughout the entire process is so inappropriate and unfavorable that those of us following this case can only have the sympathy and empathy for the Markle family. So I don't think she's going to South Florida. My best guess is she'll be at the Lowell Corrections Institute, which, by the way, a little fun fact, who else is there? Another high-profile female inmate whose case you covered, Miss Sarah Boone. And Ms. Boone, as the courties recall, was the affiliate of the suitcase murder, in which she is serving a life sentence for the second-degree murder of her boyfriend, George Torres. So I don't see prima donna Adelson heading to Miami anytime soon.
Dr. Debbie, what a prediction you just gave us. Let's just take a moment. What if what you said comes true and we have prisoners Donna Adelson and Sarah Boone in the same facility? I just can't right now. John Phillips, I just, your thoughts on that idea.
She stole my thunder. There's others that you've covered as well. Julie Schoenecker has been through there. Dalia DiPolito, I think, was one that was covered. There's a whole list. And the reason is this is the high security place. Lowell is the high security place. 3,000 women approximately are housed there. It's the one that fits her, you know, and fits her situation. Certainly she's in the Women's Florida Reception Center, which is the mental health and kind of pre-prison, like this is where we're trying to figure out where somebody fits. But given she's already alleged abuse, that could work, against her actually, because they may say, all right, well, you want more security? Well, Lowell is right there where we've even been looked at by the DOJ in 2020 because of abuse allegations. You're sure to fit in here.
Great points. John, thank you for that. So let's take a look back at one of those clips from that hearing where Donna had so many complaints about what was happening in the Leon County Jail.
You don't know the word is snitch. You don't snitch. You don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did. And I've seen that. And so, I didn't even tell you for a while. I wasn't going to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want. She's a big woman, and I was afraid of her.
In the script. Okay, sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing. You caught me on camera. My earpiece came out. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the programs that are offered at the Homestead facility. Now, this is the facility that Mama Donna wants to go to. Okay, so if she gets her wish and she goes down to Miami, I'm laughing because come to your television set. Friends at home, if you're drinking coffee, come to the TV set, put your glasses on. This is worth a read. Look at some of these activities that Mama Donna could do. And maybe this is why she wants to go there. In addition to being close to Harvey, she could do aerobics. She could engage in beekeeping. A program called God Behind Bars. She needs that. The Law Library, New Horizons Service Dog Program. And then the last two, how about these Thinking for a Change? I'm sure she'd have a lot to say in that program if she still thinks that she's a victim somehow. And then Victim Impact. I hope they don't let her anywhere near that one. John Phillips, what do you think about these programs and Mama Donna potentially doing them?
I can see her now. These bees, they're chasing me. These bees.
The drama.
The drama, and that's, look, prison reform is a serious issue, like serious. The abuse, the lack of funding, the lack of, good meals, but you do the crime, you got to do the time. And, I find it hard to have sympathy, even though I have sympathy for inmates. I just find it hard to have sympathy for her and seeing her, mess with bees versus, again, Lowell Correctional where she will learn, from other inmates and the coursework there.
Yeah.
More stringent.
Yeah. This would be great if she goes there. The Lowell Annex. Sarah Boone and Catherine McBanawa. That's where she is as well, I've been told. So, okay, Dr. Debbie, back to these activities. I want to take a moment, just ask you what you think might be suitable for Mama Donna if she goes to Homestead.
Right. I still think, Julie, based on what she's been convicted of, murder, conspiracy, solicitation, the environment really is designed to be punitive, and whether she participates in some of these activities or not, I would almost guess that she would not. I think she is somebody who, again, exhibits the conduct of being grandiose, narcissistic, again, the whole prima donna mentality that she has exhibited, that I would guess whatever facility she's in, she will stay unto herself, thinking that she's far above everybody else. She comes across as concerned and frightened. So I don't see her interacting much. I don't see her going to Miami. If she did, then yes, she has perhaps the family visitation, but I think she will spend the rest of her life playing checkers with Sarah Boone.
I love it. Boom. We're going to end this segment right there. Dr. Debbie Goodman, John Phillips, thank you both so much. Coming up next here on Opening Statement. We're spotlighting the support for defendant Luigi Mangione and all the money that his supporters are sending him for his prison commissary. Plus, where is baby Emmanuel Haro? His parents, accused killers Jake and Rebecca, are due in court today.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
People who keep wondering why we regard Luigi Mangione as a hero, we don't. We see him as the symbol he is in a time that he's needed.
I mean, this guy basically became the modern-day Martin Luther King. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's statues of him in the near future.
I guarantee you that no other CEO is going to want to be in this position, and they understand the fact that Luigi has opened a path, a way that many others might want to explore.
This whole corporate capitalist takedown is just, oh my God.
The public support for defendant Luigi Mangione has become a major part of his murder case. But that support has the man accused of killing the CEO of United Healthcare now living large, so to speak, behind bars. According to multiple reports, Mangione has collected $40,000 in his commissary. It is commissary. TMZ is reporting that the account is largely funded by donations from his supporters. Now, in the wake of the shooting of Brian Thompson, Mangione saw his support grow from many people all across the country due to negative feelings about our healthcare system here in the United States. And Mangione's support has been so notable that even Saturday Night Live acknowledged it.
Luigi Mangione dropped. Yeah, definitely wooed. You're wooing for justice, right? Luigi Mangione dropped his extradition fight and was flown from Pennsylvania to New York to face multiple charges. In related news, Bumble exploded.
Now, Mangione isn't the only defendant to garner such a reaction from the public. Scott Peterson did, Ted Bundy did, and most recently, Jeremy Meeks, a.k.a. the hot felon, were all very popular defendants. So what is it about Luigi? And what do we make of this public fascination? Let's bring in jury consultant and human behavior expert Susan Constantine to talk about that. Susan, good morning to you. What do you think it is about Luigi?
Well, I think that most people are feeling that he becomes the idol of what people are feeling as an injustice, right? That they're being taken advantage of, big pharma. We've got large corporations, CEOs making decisions, life and death decisions when it comes to whether they're going to be covered or not covered, and people are dying. So they look at him as an idol. And that's what he is. It's like he's looked as a vigilante. And it doesn't hurt the fact that most women are finding him really attractive. So that's where we go into the, histophilia, which is where they're attracted to people who are evil. So we're looking at this movement of where evil is celebrated as good and what is good is condemned as evil. And that's really the crux of it all, Julie.
This is fascinating, Susan, kind of picking apart what you shared with us. So when people look at Luigi and say that he's a vigilante, and is there a kind of I've heard this term thrown out there, like a Robin Hood kind of image with him going on, where people feel some kind of way about some issue, and then he's looked at as a hero by some.
Yeah, it's like Bonnie and Clyde. That's exactly what it is that they look at him as that he is becoming the person, the voice of people who are feeling outraged, and he is the one that has carried it through and manifested it, and people are celebrating that. So they're kind of other people that the public is behind the curtain, and they're celebrating what he did as being good. So that's what is going on here. It's really a bizarre phenomenon where we see, like even with Jeremy Meeks, more his mugshot was thrown up there, and what happens? Chloe Green, who is a heiress, ends up falling in love with the guy. So what is it, this attraction? It kind of reminds me of Halloween, right? So we've got this fear factor, this horrible thing that's scary and fearful, but then there's also this attraction to it. So it's very bizarre. It's a psychology, it's a psychopathy of some sort. But the more people that jump on board, the bigger that group becomes. That noise becomes larger, and then people fall into kind of that cult belief.
This is fascinating, Susan. So another aspect of this, really with both Jeremy Meeks and with Luigi Mangione, the aesthetics, right? How much is this mattering? Like, would we be having this conversation about Luigi if he looked very different than the way he does? Would Hot Felon have become so famous and have gotten so much viral attraction online and found love, you know, the way he did if he looked differently? How much do looks matter?
Yes. Oh my gosh, does it ever? I mean, because they're looking at him as, how could this guy do this, right? He's a good-looking Italian guy, chiseled face, olive skin. He's very smart and educated, and there's that attraction to that, right? So I think that naturally people are attracted to beautiful things, right? I mean, he is a very attractive guy, and it almost evaporates the fact that he is also a killer. And that's where, when it comes to jury selection, the prosecution needs to start implanting some mind viruses into that jury to see him differently as a killer, not as a vigilante. Even though he's good looking, don't disguise the mask that underlying it is a very deviant, calculated killer.
Susan, excellent points. Yeah, it horrifies me. I can't believe we're in this day and age. You know, it's one thing to look at, I remember when Hot Felon was popular and everybody was just passing around the mugshot online, and okay, you talk about it. Here, there's action being taken with Luigi. I mean, we're seeing the amounts of money. Let's talk about the $40,000 in his commissary. And this man is accused of a cold-blooded murder, accused of shooting a man in the back on the street in New York City when he was totally unsuspecting, unarmed. It's an ambush attack that he allegedly did. $40,000 just in the commissary. That's not donations to the legal fund. We'll get to that. The defense fund surpasses $1 million. I'm blown away by this. And he also gets 100 to 200 letters a day, Susan. So people are actively wanting to reach out to him. What do you think of these actions? People actually, I can't believe, giving of their hard-earned money and time to support this man accused of murder.
They just have a warped belief system, and that's really what it boils down to. They're not separating out the fact that he committed a murder, regardless of their belief system, regardless of how they're trying to create a cultural shift in how we see things. They are supporting him, standing behind him, and then also rallying behind him. So the fact that he has, $40,000 in commissary money to use, I guess that's a lot of money for a bunch of bags of Cheetos for him, because he's going to be in there for a very, very long time.
Yeah, sure is. So, Susan, let's tap into your jury consulting expertise. I keep thinking about the defense team, and he's got great lawyers. So there's a concern about the jury pool and things that the government has done publicly of perhaps prejudicing Luigi. You know, be that true as it may be, I would be more concerned if I'm one of the prosecutors, truly. I'm wondering, should the defense, if you're on the defense side, should they be leaning in to this to really ride this wave, so to speak, of the support and of the very, very vocal love for this defendant?
That's part of it. I think that that's very true. But on the other hand, I would never walk into the courtroom without doing my jury research. So I would want to test all those different arguments and hypotheses to see what the outrage might be and the sentiment of those jurors. So I don't know what is going to land. you've got to test these beforehand. You just don't throw, mud out there and just hope somebody's going to, is going to hit them. You have to test it. You've got to do your jury research to determine what works, what arguments work, and all the way throughout, from opening statements all the way throughout, and different questions. And that's one of the things that I work with my attorneys on, is that we have to test. And I don't know whether you knew this, but I actually have a technology that analyzes the sentiment of people. It's called the jury lab. I'm not sure you knew that. And what I do in these mock trials is they test these arguments, these hypotheses, these mind viruses, and seeing how it lands. So I say, I don't know until I know. And you've got to test lots of different things from different angles to see what works and what doesn't.
It's fascinating, Susan. We got to talk more about your jury lab on another segment here on Court TV. Thank you so much for coming on Opening Statements this morning. This was a really, really interesting discussion. We'll continue following Luigi's case for you friends at home. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
How has this case impacted the community?
It's really sad. Everyone's mad. Like, you could, if you didn't want him, but you could have just gave him to someone who did.
A California community is demanding justice for little baby Emmanuel Haro as his parents are accused of murdering him. They're due in court today, and he is still missing.
This is the Court TV podcast.
We come to you guys asking you to help us find our son. He was abducted last night from Big 5. Somebody struck my wife while she was trying to change his diaper. And we just ask if anybody knows anything to please contact Yucaipa Police Department.
Don't hesitate, just call.
Now for what's tipping the scales in California, we're watching a settlement conference scheduled for later today in the case against Jake and Rebecca Haro. The couple has pleaded not guilty to accusations of murdering their 7-month-old baby, Emmanuel. Still, weeks later from the charging, this innocent child is nowhere to be found. And many people are wondering, how do authorities know that he's even dead? Here's what the local DA had to say previously.
How baby Emmanuel died or was killed, and is there anything you can share?
The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was abused, victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries.
It's so heartbreaking. Where is baby Emmanuel? Will he ever be brought back home? Let's bring back in high-profile criminal defense attorney Michael J. Brown and welcome in private investigator with Black Ops Private Investigators, Manuel Gomez. Good morning to you both. Manuel, is this baby ever going to be found?
No, I don't believe this baby will be found because it's to his benefit for the baby not to be found. Because now you can't really nail the conviction on him because you don't have a dead body. So it still gives the presumption of possibly the kid was taken and kidnapped, and so this gives him his ability to negotiate. And he's playing the police. I mean, he went down there, he tried to look for this baby, supposedly, but you notice he really didn't help the cops. He's just playing along. He's a con artist, and I don't believe this baby's going to be found, and he does not want it to be found.
That's video of exactly what you're talking about, Manuel, what we were just showing. When he got out of jail, we see him in his jail garb in the red there, and he's supposedly taking police to the location where they could find baby Emmanuel. Michael J. Brown, if you're this guy's lawyer and that all happens and they turn up empty, ooh, how are you feeling then?
Well, yeah, I think that that's what they're doing, and they're holding firm, and they're not going to take a plea, and they're going to go forward. But here's the flip side, Julie, which I think they're going to put extreme amount of pressure on Rebecca. That's why she was charged. That's why she was indicted. And although they'll have this agreement that, hey, we're never going to talk, we're going to stand firm and never talk, we're going to have that conversation, meaning the attorney and Rebecca, and they're going to have that facts of life conversation, and they're going to present the options and the possibility. And you know that the prosecution is going to want to have her testify for them, and in exchange, they'll give her very favorable treatment. And I do think at the end of the day, that will happen, and that's going to lead to a couple of things. Number one, they're going to discover where the body is. They'll know how the death occurred. and she'll testify at the actual prosecution, which I think would then result in a conviction.
Such sharp analysis, Michael. Let me ask you a follow-up, please. Do you think these conversations are already happening with Rebecca?
Oh, you bet. You bet. So what's going to happen is from day one, the defense attorney is going to go in and say, hey, look, here's where we're at. You know, we have a tough road to face here. You're charged with murder, but here's what we can do. And listen, these clients would not necessarily immediately want to do that, but as time goes on, they may very well do that. And again, I'm assuming that this actually happened. Let's just go under that assumption for a moment, because they could be completely innocent. But if that's the case, yeah, I think these discussions have progressed. And at some point, I think when she sees the writing on the wall, she'll cooperate.
I think you're exactly right. Great analysis, Michael. Manuel, let me go back to what happened to this precious baby, because so many people are wondering, how did he die? And we know the prosecutors are alleging that it was a buildup of abuse over a period of time. I want you to weigh in on that. Do you think that's what occurred here?
Absolutely. You have to see the baby's sister was 10 weeks old, and the father broke 7 of her bones, fractured the baby's head. She had brain swelling, and now the baby the little girl is completely handicapped and bedridden. So there's no doubt in my mind that this monster did the same thing to Emmanuel Haro. No doubt. But one of the saddest things in this case, and even the prosecutor stated it, that, you know, the judge should have never given him probation. And the fact is that, you know, the prosecutor said it, how bad and egregious this case is, but he says he's not going after the judge personally. Well, I am going after the judge personally. He should not be on the bench. This child's blood is on his hands, and we need to have oversight. And this is the problem with prosecutors and lawyers now in every state. They're scared to go after corrupt judges who are making bad decisions. When a judge makes bad decisions, people's lives get killed. And that's what happened here. And he doesn't need to be on the bench.
Manuel, I agree that this guy should have never been given any breaks. You know, you harm a child that severely. I couldn't agree with you more. He should have been locked up for a very long time. Amen to that. But he was out, able to have another child. And look at the result here with baby Emmanuel. And I have to wonder if he was abusing Rebecca as well, because remember, she had that shiner when she was doing the interview claiming that, you know, she was, you know, accosted and beat up, and the baby was kidnapped, that garbage story that we knew was garbage. Michael J. Brown, do you think that she was a victim of Jake Harrow's, perhaps?
I do. I mean, you know, we write this script. We see it every day, Julie, and you see the domineering husband, the abusive spouse, controls the wife, controls what happens in the household, and she's fearful of going to the authorities. She's fearful of having him arrested, because it similar to what your guest said, it will amount to him being released, and then it will be further harm to her. So yeah, the script that I'm seeing here definitely falls in line with that, and that just kind of reinforces why I think at this point she's going to cooperate, she's going to flip, and that will ensure that he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Such sharp analysis from you both, as per usual. Attorney Michael J. Brown, private investigator Manuel Gomez, thank you both so much for being on the show today. We'll see you soon. And friends at home, thank you for watching along with us. If you like the episode, share it, tell your friends about it. We pop them up there on courttv.com for you every day in case you can't watch the show live. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on courttv.com.